President Barack Obama.
Virginia, we are counting on you. Republicans want to steal enough seats in Congress to rig the next election and wield unchecked power for 2 more years. But you can stop them by voting yes by April 21st. Help put our elections back on a level playing field and let voters decide, not politicians. Vote yes by April 21st.
Paid for by Virginians for Fair Elections.
When Lumen Field wants to power game day experiences for 69,000 fans, who make sure every snap and tap lead the home crowd cheering? Lumen, that's who. The trusted network for AI.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Hey everyone, what's going on? It is Jay Scott. Welcome aboard another episode of the Hook Rocks podcast, the ultimate rock community podcast. Another episode, another journey, another conversation. We've got an incredible interview for you coming up with a couple members of the band Dirty Honey. We have John Notto, the guitar player, and Justin Smolian, the bass player. Fantastic interview, fantastic conversation about their upcoming debut album. Now, they did release an EP a couple years ago, but this is their first full-length album. It's 8 songs of incredible hooks, incredible jams, incredible tunes. You will definitely like it. I am going to go out on a limb here. It's not a really big limb because I think it's almost definite that it's going to happen, that by this time next year, Dirty Honey will be gigantic through the stratosphere. This album sets them up for all of that. It is a great continuation from the EP, and it builds on their success from those songs that they had. I always like it when I see a band that I've dove into before, and I like it when I see them take that leap. I like when they take that next step. And Dirty Honey takes that step and a couple more because the songs are so tight and the songwriting is just incredible. You're going to be happy with this. The only disappointment on this album is that there's only 8 songs. That's the only disappointment. But hey, I'll take it because it's fantastic. And just going to run through some thoughts here on the album before we get to the interview here in a moment. California Dreamin' starts off the album. It's the debut song. It's the lead song, the lead single from the album. Just a great song to just kind of cruise around to, take in the sun, and feel your rock and roll. It is a great, great tune. It just starts the album out right. It sets the pace for the album. It sets the expectation for the album. And then the next 2 songs, The Wire and Tied Up, are just filled with great hooks and great riffs. Again, Mark sounds great. The band sounds great. I just am floored. You know, when I first took this album in a couple weeks ago, I was just amazed at how it sounded. I know when I spoke to Mark in the fall of 2019, the plan was to record this in Australia. Obviously, due to COVID restrictions, that couldn't happen. And like a lot of other bands, they had to adapt and figure out a way to record the music. So they talk about that. Justin and John talk about that in the interview and how that came to be and what the process was. And it's really interesting how they were able to do that. You got to adapt these days because everything is so fluid and everything is so new and unlike before that if you don't adapt, what's the old saying? You know, adapt or die. I mean, that's pretty much the way it is right now, especially in music. You got to figure out different ways to record. You got to figure out how to mobilize your studio to have people record from different places. If you guys can't be in the same room, it's a lot different. And I know their expectation was to go and record the album the same way they did the EP. That didn't happen, but I don't think they missed a beat because it is incredible. Moving on to Take My Hand, another great track. I know they get compared a lot to Aerosmith, because that's what we do now. We always compare bands and music to the bands of yesterday, the legends of yesterday. And I don't think they'll have a problem with, I don't know if anybody band will have a problem with being compared to Aerosmith. But yes, there are similarities with Aerosmith. There's a lot of Guns N' Roses in this album too as well. You do hear also a couple elements of Audioslave, which is really interesting too. But Dirty Honey is standing on their own right now. I mean, this album, you can't deny their influences, and no band should. And most bands, and in fact, all bands, wear their influences on their sleeves. And it's got that funk, it's got that blues-driven rock similar to Aerosmith. It's got that angst of Guns N' Roses, which is very prominent in this album around these songs. And it also kind of adds in a few things new as well. Like I mentioned, there's a couple riffs that are, I can picture this on an Audioslave album. This pays homage to Chris Cornell and Audioslave. The riff, the hook, the delivery of the song, the lyrics. I was in my car and I was listening to it, and I'm like, I could totally picture Chris Cornell singing this song, and Mark LaBelle does a fantastic job. The whole band, John, Justin, and Corey are just phenomenal. Again, the growth here, especially on this song, because it's a little different than what we're used to from Dirty Honey, but they pull it off and it sounds incredible. Gypsy is another one of my favorites on the album. Another great song, great hook, great chorus. Again, the band just keeps building on each song. It's almost like I envision a staircase when I listen to this album. The first step is California Dreamin', and each song just keeps going up that staircase and just getting better and better. No Warning and The Morning are also two great, strong tracks. Love the songs. And my favorite is Another Last Time, which ends the album. Just another incredible track. A lot of influences to maybe a little bit of Hendrix. Great blues number. Blues influences too as well. Just, I can't say enough about it. This is an exciting album. I'm excited for others to hear it and for all of my listeners to take this in, because I don't know what's going to happen from now until the end of the year, but with almost certainty, this will be one of the top albums that people listen to and people take in. And again, if you're saying that new rock sucks and new rock stinks or whatever, you're just not listening, because no one that listens to this album can think that with a clear head. No one. And if you want to be a relic, if you want to live in the past and not offer yourself the joy of something new, the joy of something different, the joy of good rock music, I don't know what to tell you at this point, because a band like Dirty Honey is embarking on a journey, and they're taking us with them. And if you're not on, if you're not on the bus right now, it's going to be hard to get on, because these guys are about to take off with this record. It is so good. Sonically, it's so good. I will say John's guitar playing on this album really just raises the bar. And Justin and Corey sound so tight. There was a moment where I was listening to, I think it was Take My Hand or Tied Up, one of the two. And I was listening to it. I'm like, wow, the bass sounds incredible on this song. And then the drums, they're so tight. They're so locked in with each other. And it just feeds off that. The songs just feed off that tightness of Justin and Corey. And John, with his guitar playing, he's, in my opinion, going to be recognized as the next guitar hero. I know we talk about Tyler Bryant a lot. We talk about the Kiska Kid from Greta Van Fleet. Both exceptional, both great guitar players. I think John Notto, after this album, is going to be included in that. And, of course, Mark, what can you say about Mark LaBelle, man? He's got a great voice. He's got the look. He's got the presence. And, again, folks, mark my words, this point next year, your kids are going to be talking about him. They're going to be everywhere. Dirty Honey is about to leaps and bounds through whatever it's called, the stratosphere, the realm of awesomeness, I will call it. you check it out for yourself. The album is out on April 23rd, and I've got my pre-order in, so I'm excited. Get your pre-order in. It's available on their website. You can get it also all the normal spots too, like Amazon. You can buy the stream, buy the physical copy. Stop just pulling songs from the air. Buy the physical copy. Trade in your new car without a CD player. Go buy a used car from like 2017, 2018 that has a CD player in it. I did that. I actually did that. I had to get a car last summer, and I was looking at the brand new model of the car that I bought, and it didn't have a CD player in it. And I asked the sales guy, I'm like, how come it doesn't have a CD player? And he's like, oh, the new models don't. I'm like, is that for every car? He's like, for the most part, yeah. I go, do you have anything on the lot with this model with a CD player? And he's like, well, we've got a 2018. I'm like, let me look at it. How many miles are on it? And he's like, oh, like 27,000, blah, blah, blah. So I got in, looked at it, had the CD player. I'm like, I'll take it. And he's like, you're going to buy a car solely on the fact that it has a CD player. I'm like, yes, I will, because I don't like just pulling things from out of the air like music. I like to have the physical copy in my hand. And you can ask my son, the Youth Rocks, at the Youth Rocks on Twitter. My car always has CDs in it, and I'm always listening to CDs in my car. I do have an iPod for when I work out, or if I'm taking my dog for a walk, I'll listen to that. But for the most part, I'm always getting deliveries at my door of CDs because I just love it. So go out and buy Dirty Honey's self-titled debut full-length album. Go buy the physical copy, and also buy the stream too. Buy both so you have it, so you're a little flexible with your life. Anyway, check out the interview. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Good evening, everybody. It is Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe, staying healthy. Just wanted to, again, welcome you back to the podcast where we're talking music, music commentary, music interviews, talking rock, being escape for you during these times. And I'd like to welcome in two members of the band Dirty Honey, and that is guitarist John Notto and bassist Justin Smolian. What's going on, guys? How are you?
We're just kicking it, man. Chilling, dude. Doing a lot of nothing.
Doing a lot of nothing. I am excited for this interview because, gosh, it was fall of 2019. I had the pleasure of interviewing Mark, and you guys were just, I think, doing your first tour in the States. You guys were, I was a huge fan, and now I've been able to hear the new album, and I am just absolutely blown away.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, and I really appreciate it. We're very proud, and I'm just pumped. I just think it's going to be fun to perform this stuff.
It is, man. It totally sounds. I mean, I have a 16-year-old son, and he is like the song California Dreamin'. He has sat in his room for the last week trying to learn those riffs, trying to learn that song.
It's one of the most inspiring things for us to get that back. And it's kind of like my favorite. That's the way that I want to be a teacher. You know what I mean? Like I don't really fancy sitting down in the room and actually teaching the kid. I want to, I want to put this stuff out and inspire kids to seek it out. And it's really inspiring.
Awesome. Well, we always start the same way every time we have new guests on the Hook Rocks, and that's the essence of the show. Just like every rock song that has a hook, every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you guys?
Oh, that hooked me on rock and roll. Well, I mean, the album that hooked me on rock and roll was Led Zeppelin 2. And I had just started guitar lessons because I was showing some promise at it. A friend's dad who played the punk band showed me some chords, and I got them right away. So I got lessons, and the guy was a classic rock head, and so he introduced me to Stairway to Heaven, and I was picking that up pretty good. And I went home, and I asked my mom who this guy Led Zeppelin was, and she kind of laughed and went to her record collection, which I had ignored to that point. And she pulled out Led Zeppelin 2, and that really changed everything. Specifically the guitar, the whole song, Whole Lot of Love, because that's the first song you hear. The riff, the groove, and the psychedelic part, and that guitar solo break. I mean, I was like, that's amazing.
For me, I was probably like 12 years old, and all my friends really got into like grunge punk rock. And I got the album Muddy Banks Wish Cop, which was like the live Nirvana record. And I didn't know anything about the band really except for the single. And from there, I kind of delved into my dad's record collection and also got Led Zeppelin 2. But yeah, I really love just like the aggressiveness and rawness of Nirvana. Like I'd watch the videos and see them just going crazy, destroying stuff. But I guess the big game changer for me was some girl in high school let me borrow her Appetite for Destruction CD, which I never gave back because after I heard that, it's completely changed rock and roll for me. And because they had that punk attitude and craziness, but they also had amazing musicianship and great songs, and I love the way they look. It was just like I was like, that's the whole package for me when I got Appetite.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Where did it go from there? I mean, you guys heard these iconic albums and from these iconic bands. What was it that drove the evolution for you guys to want to perform and be in a band?
Well, you just want to be cool like that. I think when you're a kid, I was already jumping off my coffee table, missing the school bus, air guitaring to just music on a stringless ukulele. Nobody in my family played ukulele. I don't even know where we had it, but so there was already that. And I've always had the desire to perform in front of people. Like me and my friends used to invite our parents over and charge them a penny to get into the yard, and then we'd throw in these like dance shows. Not that we worked anything out; we were just flopping around. I've always liked to be the funny guy, and I think just guitar. Like I said, guitar, I just had a leg up on right away. And then, so teachers were like, well, here's the pinnacle of guitar music. And I just was enthralled. And, in the 90s, rock wasn't all the way gone yet. So you could still follow the trail, of rock stars. So, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what starts it. And then, we were just the guys who found each other who still, as far as the band goes, we took musicianship seriously, but we were just like, we love rock and roll. So we found Mark and we played in this crappy bar and we caught a break.
It's amazing because you guys, are at the forefront of the new rock scene. right? And, ever since 2019, when you released your first music, your first EP, and now, with this album, the momentum has been building and building. When you guys were recording this album and you had a lot of unknown and uncertainty with what's going on in the world, how did you guys navigate through that with your creativity?
I mean, I think we realized we had to make a great record. I mean, that's always the goal anyways, but it just pushed us to do that even more because we did have so much momentum in it. Hearing you say that just like a breath, like that's we're at the forefront. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been sitting in my apartment for a year. Yeah. But yeah, like we really did feel like we had so much momentum and to have it all grind to a halt was pretty crazy. So I think we took all that energy and tried to put it in the record. And we just spent a lot of time. We got a rehearsal studio, and we spent a ton of time working on these songs. And not just that, but John, Corey, and I would just get together without Mark and play songs from our favorite records, or just stuff that we thought was hard just to make us a better band. So I think you're going to hear us just progress as a band on this record too. We just play even better together than I think we did before.
That's one of the things that I did notice was the synergy it was there, with the EP, but what stuck out was just how tight you guys were and how it's almost like you're all evolving as artists still, right? You're still young in your career, but it's like you guys are evolving together as a unit, and that's really special to hear.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that, and I think it's important for us for that to be present always, and it's also, I'm hopeful that while that exists, it's also not too much of an art band, it's still palatable and like it with big songs, and we want every guitar solo, every melody, every riff and groove to be something that gets stuck in your head, At the same time, you hear us grow as artists. So I'm really hoping that comes across to everybody and that everybody develops their own connection to it.
You guys were supposed to record in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the original plan. And how did you guys, obviously things happen and the world, was burning down there for a while. And how did you guys, change and kind of adapt? What went through that process?
It was really just just comb over your options,
Yeah, the first couple of months we were kind of like, oh, maybe it'll open up and we'll go to Australia in July and then August. And then once we kind of realized it just wasn't going to happen because we had to make the record this year.
Yeah.
And luckily, Nick Padilla, our producer, he used to live in LA and he worked at Hinton Recording Studios for like 20 years. And he got us in there. And we made the record using audio movers, which is kind of like Zoom for Pro Tools. And we did the same thing in our rehearsals. Like he would be there over Zoom and over audio movers, like listening to us rehearse the songs. And it honestly worked out way better than we expected. Like I think we all had pretty low expectations of it. So when it actually worked, we were all like, yes.
Yeah, it really was kind of like he's in the room. I thought the was called Listen To. But it's by audio movers.
Yeah, you're right.
We like plugging them because everyone wants to focus on the Zoom factor, but Zoom was not as a focal point. But yeah, I mean, we just went through the options, and that was the best one. So it ended up being that. Did you mention Tom?
I did not.
Yeah. So we ended up, although our producer wasn't in the room, he was able to get a guy kind of next in his lineage. So our producer came up under Brendan O'Brien, and then when he branched out on his own, that's Nick. When Nick branched out on his own, this guy Tom replaced him as Brendan's head engineer. And so when we needed somebody stateside to, be in the room and handle the board and do it, Tom was available. So it was just another extension of how this whole thing's operated with like people we trust and people that are close and kind of no strangers. So Tom fit right in, and he knew Nick very well, and they both knew, Brendan. They both know Brendan very well, and they both came up in the same school. So,
and we did it in a room that Nick was very familiar with. He made, Rage Against the Machine record in there. I think they made a Pearl Jam record in that room.
Yeah. So it was so seamless. It's very surprising.
Did you guys write this album during the pandemic, or were these songs, demoed beforehand?
Both. And some of them were already in performance on the tour. So The Wire and Tied Up and Take My Hand were already...
we played those at our last show.
Yeah, we played those at the last show. I pretty much think as they were, the versions are essentially the same.
Yeah, maybe lyric changes, but
yeah, some lyric changes and stuff, and some guitar solo perfections. But yeah,
and then we kind of had the bed for a few. Like, I remember we were rehearsing the ballad at soundcheck. And
what are we?
We did it at one or two soundchecks. Yeah,
I don't remember doing that actually, but
we did.
I thought we were rehearsing the other ballad.
We did both.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Did you
I
find?
think Justin's lying to you.
He's lying.
Did you guys find like your creativity or your maybe sense of what was going on in the world affected your creativity at all?
Well, I think it was like we got lemons, so we decided to make lemonade kind of thing, where we just said, well, okay, this is just a lot of free time. If there's one thing that we wanted to come out of this saying, at least one thing entirely benefited from this break, and that was the record. So it affected us in that we just, what if you're a creative, what do you do with free time? You create.
So it was really productive the first 6 months, but after we made the record, we haven't been doing anything.
Pretty, it's like it's a slow start to get the ball rolling on the early nuggets for the next, proposed record. So everybody's noodling around in their apartment trying to drum up things, but yeah, I mean the short answer is that's how it affected us. It definitely made a better record. So
I also imagine too, it also gave you a sense of an escape for what you're doing. Kind of you get in that bubble, right? Everything's happening around you. During the summer there was the protest. You have an election season that was really toxic. You have the pandemic, and then you're making a record and you're focused on that. And it kind of allows you to kind of leave this place we're in and kind of go into your own, you do your own thing.
It definitely, I noticed, in comparison to some other people or, friends of mine or, stories about what their families were going through, I realized it really gave us a leg up, at least while we still had to work on it. And even this, like doing the press, we've had this sort of tether to the future that's kind of kept us going. Some people, they just lost their jobs, and in some cases they're a place to live, and it's just like, they have no idea what they're going to do when this is over. And we already have contingency plans for when it's over. And, we had the record to work on. So yeah, it was a much needed escape to at least have something that represents your future to work on while the world is on fire.
Yeah. Cause I've talked to so many artists who recorded albums during this time. I had a conversation in the fall with Tyler Bryant, and he had this studio in his basement, and that the band just came and stayed there, and they just recorded this album. And it was like they were just doing their thing and living in their bubble. And it was interesting to hear that. And I imagine for a lot of bands like yourselves, it does, you don't want to hear the news after a while. You don't want to really know, because it's the same thing over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. And, making music and being creative gives you that element, or gives you that way to kind of step back and enjoy life while others may not. And as kind of difficult as that may sound, it does give you, something to look forward to.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny that you mentioned Groundhog Day. Like, John, like a month straight, was posting on his Instagram story, like he put on Groundhog Day on his TV and like recorded and posted over and over again.
Oh, yeah. That's like the scene where the alarm clock goes off and it's like, you put your hand on my hand.
Every day I wake up and I go on Instagram and I see that, I was like, oh my God, things have changed.
That's hilarious too, to think that I thought that it wasn't gonna be that long, so I just do that. Imagine if I did that for a year straight.
Yeah, you gave up eventually. I gave up. You're like, wait, this is Groundhog Day.
Well, for at least like a split second every morning, like you said, you're like, wait, is this really the same day or is this really happening? And then, you realize that it's not. Yeah. So when you think about where you guys are at early on in your career right now, and the future is bright, and the album's coming out, and the album sounds awesome, and you hear a lot about rock and roll. You mentioned in the beginning of our conversation how rock was still around in the 90s. You had to, kind of sniff the trail and find it. But even more so now, you really got to go and look for it. But I think that's changing as bands like Dirty Honey and others are making new great music and connecting with the youth of America. Where do you guys see yourselves, and where do you guys see, rock music as it progresses in the next year or so?
Well, I hope to see it affecting, more kids across America that we're already seeing. We're seeing a lot of people trying to learn the songs. We're seeing it not just be the people of my parents' age and younger, like, remembering their childhood. We're actually seeing the teens and stuff get into it. And I think there is a pocket of teens who aren't just into the pop music of today. And I hope to see, I hope that we're that thing that they get to go see that reminds them of Led Zeppelin that they love, or,
Yeah, and I think, especially everybody being cooped up this past year, everybody wants a reason to be rebellious, and they want to go crazy. And I'm really hopeful that rock's going to be that thing that they turn to. There is a lot of great music out there, but there's not really a lot that has that message right now, to me at least, personally.
No. If you look at it like the Silk Sonic thing that just came out with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, it's like when I saw the Grammy performance, I was like, man, they're totally doing a retro thing. Up there in the, I don't know what you call those types too. It's the big lapels, and it's totally this tribute thing. And then I kind of went down the rabbit hole of Bruno Mars, and I was like, man, he's always been a retro. He's always been a retro tribute, even before like the 24 karat magic stuff.
On Orthodox Jukebox, it was all, every different song was like a tribute to a certain style of music.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I guess it'd be great for us to somehow hit that level where it's like,
it's
he
new,
respected, yeah. And I think the line, and I think the thread is he always writes great melodies throughout the entire song. Mm-hmm. And I think we're definitely trying to do that. We want every part of our song to be basically a hook. And not like some sort of like sellout way. It's just like the effect that has. It's going to be good. Yeah, he's going to be awesome. So, all killer, no filler. So, I hope that new fashion rock and roll could get the same nod that like a Bruno Mars does. And I think we have what it takes to do it. We've just got to get back out on the road. Ah!
Well, I think that's true, right? I do agree with you. Kids today for the last year have been sitting at home doing the same thing every day for the most part. And rock thrives when there's angst and there's rebellion. And I think during this past year, I can see it with my son, his friends. He is getting tired of the same music that everyone's been listening to, whether it's hip hop or pop. And they've turned to rock and roll. They've turned to bands like Dirty Honey. We just had, I know they're a classic rock band in their legacy band, but AC/DC comes out with this album in November that everybody from young kids to older, people like myself resonated with it. It was like a celebration of rock music. And I think it's going to be that way where there's so many new bands, so many new great bands where you're just not going to be able to get away from it. It's going to be there and you're going to, it's like you're not going to have a choice but to be like, this is really cool. This is awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully, man, all we can do is work hard, towards that direction and see what kind of fruit it bears. And so far it's been bared a lot of great fruit. We just got this big wrench thrown into the thing with a world health risk. So, but I'm vaccinated. I'm ready to go. Justin's ready to go.
Well, and last question too. Last question. The Grammys were a couple weeks ago, and the winner of the Grammys, which was the Strokes, made a comment about how we don't need any more blues rock. Blues rock is worn out. There's no imagination in it. What do you guys feel?
Who said that?
The Strokes.
Cool. Who said that? Oh, the Strokes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, nobody needs a facsimile of anything, and I think that's the literal translation there. And the other translation is what I don't know much about the Strokes, but I don't know that guy. But what he's really saying, anyone who says that, is they're just frustrated with the blues rock that has come out, and it's maybe sounding too repetitive, too tired, too generic. It starts to sound generic. It's like the Black Keys came and put an original spin on it by kind of making it hipster and adding sort of that like my LA reference is like adding like a Silver Lake sound,
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden everyone does that. Now there's so many bands who basically are doing their take on Black Keys, so I could get where that's tired. And then there's and we found this too. There's like another element of the blues rock where if the band says they're retro, they don't have hooks. They don't have big songs. It's like they left that part out. They don't have Welcome to the Jungle. They don't have, Paradise City.
Sweet Child.
Or Sweet Child. It's like they just have like the heavy riff and then a bunch of guitar stuff and like soulful singing, but not the songs. And so that sounds like a comment that's the frustration with that more than no one knows what the world needs. The world needs just something awesome.
Yeah, and I hear that too. I think what we're bringing, I don't even consider this a blues rock band.
Yeah.
But I think what we're bringing back to rock and roll is really roll, swing.
Yeah.
Like we don't I think what they're talking about with that blues rock is it's all very straight. It doesn't really have like the sexiness and the groove of the rock and roll bands that I personally really loved.
It kind of ends up heavy and dirgy and kind of, you
can't dance to it.
Yeah.
Well, I also think too that over the last decade or so, people have tried to redefine rock music, and I think that correlates with how rock music has kind of faltered in the last decade, because I think people are, instead of celebrating what makes rock music great, they're trying to redefine it and make it something different. And I think that if people embrace what has made rock awesome through decade after decade after decade, I think it will come back. I think it will connect with the youth, because I see my son and his friends, I keep mentioning him and his friends, but they're listening to you guys. They're listening to Greta Van Fleet, South of Eden, Joyous Wolf, all those bands that have the bluesy element to it or the influence of blues in their music. And I think that's connecting with the kids, whereas some of the stuff where they hear and like, well, that's not rock music. I don't think that's rock. I think if we celebrate what's made it awesome, I think it will in turn come back.
And, we call ourselves new fashion rock and roll. I think we're not rock music. Rock to me is rock is this evolution that happened after rock and roll, where they took out the roll, they took out the swing, they took out the groove, they took out the blues.
Great point.
And it became very, heavy. The heavy. It was like guys who want to be catchy on the radio, but kind of feel like metal, you know. And we have something close to that, maybe in Break You, but even then, it reminds me more of an early Van Halen song than it does anything else. So
yeah.
Otherwise, it's new fashion rock and roll, baby.
Well, guys, it's been a blast. Thank you very much for doing this. It's been a pleasure. I love the new album. I love the new songs, and I think you guys are right there to just jump through the stratosphere.
Well, thank you, Jay. I just realized you're the Hook Rocks and that's our vibe, dude. Hooks and rocking.
That's why I had to have you guys on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, dude. Thank you for the time, and hopefully we get to see you in person one day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, everybody, again, that's Justin and John from Dirty Honey. New album is out April 23rd. Go out and check it out. I'm Jay Scott. This is the Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.